there's like a double-edged sword for me that like the one end of the sword is kind of nitpicking, but I'll get to that in a minute. But I mean, Desmond Bane, he's had 20 or more points in 4 of his last 5 games. He's averaging a career high 21 points. He's also bumped his assist average from 2.8 to 4.1 assists per game. And over the past 5 games, he's averaging 6.4 assists. What have you seen from this run here lately from Desmond Bane? How have you seen him kind of grow into this role where, if John Morant's not on the floor, they have a guy they can go to on the perimeter in Desmond Bane?
It's a really good situation to be in. Not the fact that you're without Ja Morant, but to have a guy in Desmond Bane who, like you said, if you think about it in the totality of Memphis Grizzlies history, we haven't seen many guys who've averaged 20 points per game, period. I mean, you're talking about when Pau Gasol was here, Mike Conley, Marc Gasol, Zach Randolph. A lot of those guys had seasons where they weren't averaging 20 points a game. And to see Dez being able to score like that is great, man. His three-point shot is coming around. He's had games where he hadn't hit threes at all here recently, but he's finding other ways to be productive, to get to the basket, mid-range jump shots, getting fouled, making free throws, assists. He's finding other ways to score, man, and or to put points on the board. And he's really been playing very well. He's still growing as a defender. He's just getting that experience, and that he's got things going on with his foot. That he's going to need surgery probably in the season, but he's pushing through those things, and he's finding a way to adjust. And like I said, I've been the biggest advocate for just getting rid of the whole backup point guard thing and just giving those things to Desmond Bane. And I think he's kind of showing you that he's able to do those type of things. He can be that lead guard on a team if Ja Morant's not available. But it's refreshing to see, man, that you've got a guy who's your second option, second, third option offensively, who's that good in situations when Ja isn't able to go. And I'm sure playing against Dallas probably helped him the last couple of games. He has legit draft day beef against those guys, but he's playing very well over the last few games for sure.
Oh yeah, man. I've just loved Desmond Bane's growth as a player. I think last year it kind of hit a little bit different because it was like, yo, this guy that was like kind of like just a spot up shooter doing a little bit of stuff on the ball. Now it's like more on the ball. And now it's like way more on the ball. I mean, I was doing some research for an insider piece I wrote last week on Bluff City Media about how the Grizzlies need to spice up their late game offense. And Desmond Bane he's grown so much as a pick and roll ball handler. I mean, he's scoring 0.9 points per possession as a pick and roll ball handler, which is in the top 10% in the league. And then last year was like 0.79, which was in the 20th percentile in the league among guards. I mean, the fact that you now have 2 guys that can create in the pick and roll, and also too, like, teams are going to respect Desmond Bane's 3-pointer, so they want to run him off the line. But it's like, right now he's stopping and popping in the mid range, or when your teams are closing in on him on the drive, trying to get in to help defense, he's hitting the weak side corner for open threes. Like, he's just adding another layer to the Grizzlies offense that's kind of needed right now, not just with missing John Morant or Steven Adams or Brandon Clark, but like the half-court offense is kind of mid, and they need a little bit of extra juice to kind of spice it up. I mean, Desmond Bane and his evolution as a almost 3-level scorer, that's a way to kind of beef it up a little bit, is having multiple guys who can attack at a high level in a variety of different ways.
Yeah, it's wild to see him do it because, like you said, when he got here, we knew he had the shooting acumen. We knew he could knock down shots. But to see him be able to put the ball on the floor and, like you said, score from all 3 levels is – because his mid-range is crazy. His floater's coming around. He can get all the way to the basket. He's not really finishing above the rim, but he's finishing at the basket very well. And, yeah, man, it's definitely I'm not going to say a surprise because we've seen the progression, but it's definitely been great to see him, step up into this role. Because if you think about it, man, before the injury, he was looking even better than what he's looking now. He was averaging 25 points a game, had almost 40 against Brooklyn. You know what I mean? So he's been a load, and it's good to see him step up. Since Ja's been away.
Oh yeah, no, like the dude was averaging like 25, 5, and 5. Like that, those are like all NBA numbers. Like the Grizzlies, if Desmond Bane would have been healthy, they could have had 2 all NBA guys. Obviously, that doesn't happen in today's NBA just because
3 all-stars. I mean, you could have been looking at a situation where you got 3 all-stars under the age of 25. on
That would
one
have been
team. So
nuts.
yeah.
That would have been nuts.
I
But
predict that to happen next year, man. I could see that very well happening where you got three. I think we'll be a top 2 seed in the West again, and you could see 3 guys under age 25, in the All-Star game for one
yeah,
team.
I can totally see that, man.
Mm.
And I do want to ask you this because like this is the other side of the sword that I'm at with Bane and his leap is, all this stuff is so cool. The fact that he's dropping dimes at a high volume for a shooting guard. And the fact that he's starting to get more to his mid range, he's attacking the basket more and just shooting better inside the arc. But I guess my fear is that I don't want it to come to a detriment to his 3-point shooting, not in the sake of accuracy, but at volume. I mean, I'm looking at his splits since the start of 2023. He's shooting 42.6% from three, but he's only shooting 6.5 threes per game, and like roughly 40% of his shots have come from beyond the 3-point arc.
Mm.
I mean, how I kind of see it is like when you have a shooter of his caliber, I mean, you can make an argument that outside the Splash Brothers in Golden State, Desmond Bane might be the best shooter in the world. And when you have a guy like that, I want him firing like 8 to 10 threes a game. Where do you kind of stand on this? I mean,
Yeah.
I'm like loving all this. Like, you have great shooters shooting at a high volume. That's one thing I love about the modern NBA is the fact that they leverage that into just becoming potent offensive weapons. And I think that's still the next gear to Desmond Bane's game.
Yeah, I would love to see him just be like a mega jumbo shooter where he's getting 8, 10, 12 3-point attempts off a game. If guys like Dylan Brooks can step in and have the balls to take 7, 8, 9, I definitely would be okay with a guy like that
Right.
taking 8 to 12 threes, per game, especially when he's making 40+% of those. I don't know if it's anything with his foot that where he, just taking his confidence away, but he's just not taking them as much. At least it seems like he's not. But yeah, man, if he can get that 3-point stroke back, and I think that's something that when Ja gets back, he kind of makes him more of a spot up guy as well. I think that you'll see his numbers increase.
And also too, whenever you get Steven Adams back, I don't know if it happens towards the end of the regular season, if it happens in the postseason, his screening and his playmaking from the high post, and especially in dribble handoffs, that opens up so much spacing as well. But before I ask you anything about move on to Jaren, I do want to ask you one final question on Des. You bring up the backup point guard situation and how he's been kind of thrusted in that role right now. What are your early returns on this Desmond Bane Luke Kennard pairing that Taylor Jenkins has rolled out without Tyus Jones?
I kind of like it, man. Both of those guys can handle the ball a little bit. I think in today's NBA, the days of your point guard walking down with one finger in the air and distributing the ball to all the guys and making passes and being little Rajon Rondo, I think those days are over, man. I think your point guard has to be a guy that can score and at a high level. The days of the good old player coach point guard, that's a college basketball thing, man. Like you don't have to have a guy who's a dedicated full-time backup point guard. And I think both of those guys, Luke Kennard and Desmond Bane, have shown the ability. You just got to get the ball down court and get moving in your sets, man. You know what I'm saying? You do dribble penetration, catch guys coming off the screens, run pick and rolls. It's all, pretty simple basketball. I don't think it has to be a guy who's a full-time backup point guard, but I have liked those minutes of Bane and Kennard, two guys that can play off each other, two of the better shooters in the entire NBA. Like you talked about, if the Splash Brothers are 1 and 2 and Bane is 3, Luke Kennard is up there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're top 5, man, for sure. So I think having two dynamic shooters like that on the court at one time, plus we're playing some weird big lineups right now where you might have like a Santi at the 4, Jaren at the 5. I'm sorry, Santi at the 3, Jaren at the 4, Tillman at the 5. They're playing lineups like that as well. It allows you to do that when you got two guys who can knock down shots like Kennard and Bane.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely loving the lineup funk from Taylor Jenkins so far. Having to kind of get grimy with it right now.
Funk it up.
The other night he was rocking Dylan Brooks at the 4. He said David Roddy at the 4 next to Aldama or Jackson. Like there's just been a lot of funkiness going around. And I know it's not ideal circumstances right now, but I'm loving it. I'm loving all these mashup lineups. The no point guard lineups with Desmond Bane and Luke Kennard. You have David Roddy running amok. I just want to see how he looks against a team that's not the Dallas Mavericks. But man, I'm loving all this right now.